Part 2. When Feelings Begin to Grow. After that evening, something in Daniel's life quietly shifted. He didn't wake up differently the next morning. His alarm still rang at 7:15, just like always. The same street noise floated through his window, and the same smell of coffee filled his small kitchen. But inside, something felt lighter. For the first time in a long time, Daniel caught himself smiling for no obvious reason. And he knew exactly why. Emily. They hadn't planned to meet again, yet somehow Daniel felt certain he would see her. Not because of fate or destiny. He wasn't the type of person who believed in those things. But because they both seemed to enjoy that simple conversation. Still, he didn't want to push anything. So he went through his day normally. Work, lunch, more work. But every now and then, his thoughts drifted back to the cafe near the park. 3 days passed. Daniel hadn't seen Emily again. By Sunday afternoon, he finally gave in to the quiet voice in his mind that kept saying, "Just go to the cafe." So he did. The air was colder now. Autumn had deepened, and more leaves covered the sidewalks like a golden carpet. When Daniel opened the cafe door, the familiar bell rang above him. He looked around casually, and there she was again. Emily sat at the same table near the window, her notebook open, her pen moving slowly across the page. Daniel couldn't help but smile. It felt strangely comforting to see her again. He walked to the counter and ordered coffee, trying not to look too obvious. But before he could sit down, Emily looked up and noticed him. Her face lit up immediately. Well, if it isn't the notebook hero again? Daniel laughed. I was hoping that nickname wouldn't stick. Too late, she said with a playful smile. It's permanent now. Daniel sat across from her. How's the writing going? He asked. Emily leaned back slightly in her chair. Some days are good, she said. Some days I stare at the page for an hour and write one sentence. That sounds frustrating. It is, she admitted. But when the story finally starts working, it's the best feeling. Daniel nodded. I guess it's similar with design. Sometimes ideas just don't come. Emily closed her notebook gently. What kind of things do you design? Mostly advertisements, Daniel said. Logos, posters, social media stuff. Emily laughed softly. So you help people sell things. I guess that's one way to describe it. And do you enjoy it? Daniel thought for a moment. It's fine, he said honestly. But it's not exactly a dream. Emily looked thoughtful. I think most people feel that way about their jobs. Maybe. She looked out the window for a second before speaking again. But writing stories, that's different. That's something I love. Daniel noticed how her voice changed slightly when she talked about writing. There was passion there. Real passion. What kind of stories do you write? He asked. Emily smiled. Mostly about people. That's very specific. She laughed. Okay, not very helpful. I mean, stories about emotions, choices, relationships, the small moments that change someone's life. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Like dropping a notebook outside a cafe? Emily smiled again. Exactly like that. From that day, Daniel and Emily started seeing each other more often. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes by coincidence. They met in the cafe, walked through the nearby park, or simply talked while sitting on a bench and watching people pass by. Their conversations grew longer and deeper. They talked about childhood memories, about dreams they once had, about fears they rarely shared with others. Daniel learned that Emily had grown up in a small town before moving to the city 2 years earlier. She worked part-time at a bookstore while trying to become a full-time writer. "I like the bookstore," she said one evening as they walked through the park. "But I don't want to stay there forever." "What do you want instead?" Daniel asked. Emily looked up at the darkening sky. "I want to publish a novel someday." Daniel smiled. "I believe you will." Emily glanced at him. "You say that very confidently." "I mean it." She looked slightly surprised. "Most people say something like, 'That sounds difficult,' or 'Maybe you should have a backup plan.'" Daniel shrugged. "Maybe they just don't understand how important it is to you." Emily didn't answer right away, but her smile returned slowly. As weeks passed, Daniel began noticing small things about Emily, things he hadn't seen at first. She had a habit of tilting her head slightly when she listened carefully. She tapped her pen against her notebook when she was thinking. She loved quiet places more than loud ones, and she laughed with her whole heart when something was truly funny. Daniel also noticed something about himself. He started looking forward to their meetings more than any